What's up, GERO 200? Hey, it's Sunday, February 26th, 2023, and we're about to start week 8. Is That is kind of hard to wrap my head around that we're all basically halfway through the semester here, and you guys are doing really great, really great. So hopefully you'll learn a lot and enjoy this class. That's what it's all about. We're trying to set you up to be super ready and productive as young adults. What else is happening on the 26th of February? There it is right there. All right. So, what you're going to find now is when you click on this guy right here, okay, this midterm exam, which is 60 multiple choice questions. You have 2 hours to do it unless you have OSAS accommodations, and we've been contacting you all about that. You click on it right here, all right? And what do you see? It's ready to rock, okay? So as you're taking the midterm, okay, just make sure, I'm gonna go ahead and hit it. I'm gonna hit begin. Um, what you should do is, as you're answering your questions, make sure you save the answers. You come in here and you hit save answer, okay? In each step away, save answer. That way, um, if for some reason you get kicked out of the exam, whatever, you'll have those answers saved, okay? All right, so that's just a little bit of word of wisdom for you. All right, I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to leave the page. Going back to where we're at here. So this was midterms. We'll go back to the announcement page. So how do you prepare for this? We've already been preparing for it. Basically, we reissue the very same questions that we were putting out in each weekly quiz. So that would be all the way through week 7. And you just have multiple browsers opened up. So if I were you, I would have um, multiple tabs, or you could open up a separate Chrome and Firefly browsers. You know, it's up to you. You know, here I could just go ahead and open up a separate tab if I wished, and then I would have 2 tabs ready to rock as I went back and forth in the course. Okay. All right. So, and then, as a study guide, so I could, on one side open the exam, the study guide Julie just sent out to you. Scroll down here in the announcements, okay? And here it is right here. So we have, week 1, okay, with really the highlights of the figures. Week 2, and as we scroll down, week 3, and all the high points are listed in each one. Is a combination of I just had a peanut butter cookie, so excuse me while I get that out of my trachea. And her review is inclusive of both what we studied that week, along with what was pertinent in the discussions. Okay, so there it is right there, week 7. So that's going to guide you on how to do it. You're going to do great. No worries about this, guys. Okay, alrighty. So let's just jump right into week 8 right here. All right, and so we've been preparing you every step of the way. There's a natural progression in this class. We kind of set the table globally in some of the issues worldwide, and we looked at the real preparedness that every country has. Okay, for you don't like to call it a burden. Okay, in some cases it is a burden or just a social transition. Okay, in terms of the society accommodating the different clients. Okay, and what we're seeing is that the proportion of older people in every country across the world is getting greater and greater. All right, so if you're a salesman, then you have more clients in that arena, so you have to adapt to the changing clientele. All right. Um, each of us personally has to deal with this. Our local communities, I live in Laguna Niguel, we have a lot more assisted living facilities that are popping up all over the place. Um, we have to look at state government, we have to look at the federal government, okay? These are all big issues, we've heard rhetoric going back and forth between the different parties in our country about whether or not Social Security is protected, whether or not the national health insurance we have for people over the age of 65, Medicare, if it's protected, okay? And and how well it's doing financially. These are all big, giant issues. Okay, we kind of lay down what's going on in our country in terms of the different groups and generations, and you guys are Gen Zers, and what's being laid in your lap. We talked about why, just the basic way that our body and cells age sets us up then for some vulnerability, and you combine this basically inescapable aspects of the biology of aging with bad luck, bad choices, and we start looking at diseases of aging. And again, this starts tapping into this burden. Okay, so this is a burden on the people that are experiencing these diseases. It's a financial drain on them and their resources. It is a burden on their family and a financial drain on their families. And then we look at, okay, who's paying for all this? Okay, so certainly you're paying for it. Through higher premiums for insurance as more and more people are having to tap into this. And then we have to pay for it in terms of our entitlement programs and Social Security. And when we're talking about some of the burdens of having medical problems, then we're talking about Medicare. And the cost of Medicare is skyrocketing. And we've gone over this. And so, you know what? We're going to have to figure out ways to raise taxes on there. And so, certainly the current administration has indicated we will not raise taxes for anybody who makes $400,000 or less. The part that doesn't make sense in terms of Social Security and Medicare, we if you look at your paycheck, there's Social Security tax, there's Medicare tax, but it tops out. It tops out at about $150,000 a year, and then you don't pay any more. All right, and that makes no sense if I'm making $15 million a year. Okay, and so the idea is that we're gonna people that are from that $150,000 to $400,000, there will be no increase in Social Security taxes or Medicare taxes, but people that make more are going to have to pay more, okay? And we're going to explain to you why this is super important, okay? Awesome. Diseases, okay, that are a strain on our national health insurance company for people that are over age 65 for Medicare, cancer, diabetes, and then people that survive, we looked at Alzheimer's disease. And mental health is something that ripples through all of our society. All right, so we set you guys up, okay? Now a big part of the burden that is going to be on your shoulders, okay? So something that's palatable, something that's like immediate, is your parents and grandparents may be going through some of these issues, okay? And so this is when you have to learn how to navigate the system, okay? And you become a caregiver, and this is where we're headed, okay? We're going to reflect on all this, okay? Not only the caregiving, but all these diseases of aging that we talked about, and the sociological impact. We'll get into economics later on. We'll see how huge this is, okay? We're going to start going more business side of this. I want you to think about the economics of caregiving as we get into this, okay? Alrighty, so what we have here, okay, is a lecture right here, okay? This right here gives you a real feel of what it's like to be a caregiver, okay? And how difficult this is. And you got to think about this as you watch this video, about balancing your very own unique interests, okay? Maybe you have to do the caregiving for Nana, okay? Maybe your parents are not capable right now, or maybe maybe your parents have passed, and now you're having to watch out for your aunties, uncles, or your grandparents, okay? You've got children of your own, you've got your own financial issues, you're trying to make your career, on and on and on. It's huge, okay? And this is not for sissies, okay? We're going to go over you'll see in this video, and we're going to go over it in this report from AARP right here, where the different types of duties that you have to perform as a caregiver is getting ratcheting upward and upward and upward, because guess what? We don't have a good national caregiving program. Okay, it's on your own shoulders. Okay, and we're going to talk about that as well. So watch this, study this. It's really important. It's a great video. Okay, again, put out there by AARP. Now we can go into this PDF file. First of all, I love this this beautiful painting that was done, and it's just basically this concept of of certainly what goes around comes around. Okay, so here's the mom. Okay, caring for the son. okay? And then things, of course, go full circle, okay? And here's the son now caring for his elderly mother. And, it's just it is a part of living, and to say it's not your problem is being naive, okay? It's everybody's problem, it's everybody's issue. Planning helps. Thinking about it helps so that you're not surprised by what's going on in the outcome, okay? So this right here is what the document looks like. Um, this was published in 10 years ago, okay? And we always are on the hunt for something that's a little bit more current, but this was a great document. We're waiting for AARP to put out a similar document, but they haven't, okay? A lot of this is, if you were to read this for the first time, you might be blown out of the water. But you guys are well educated in all these issues now, okay? So they start right here with a quick overview, okay? So in 2013, they were looking backwards at the data, okay? And then they projected forward, okay? So what they did in their analysis is they're looking at what's called the caregiver support ratio. So what is the caregiver support ratio? So we're looking at people um, categorizing people that are most likely to need long-term services, okay, need help with what are called activities of daily living, okay, and for the most part, a very high percentage of people over the age of 80 are going to need some form of assistance. Some pretty significant. Some people cruise pretty well. My mom, she lived till she was 95, and I'd say right up to my mom was about 92. She was living on her own. She was killing it. But the last couple of years, myself and my two brothers, we really had to kick in as caregivers and provide the support that she needed. All right. It was a burden. I'm living down here in Laguna Niguel. She was up in Monterey Park, and then I'm working up at SC, and I was just driving all over the place. Okay, who's the potential caregiver? So this is again how they categorize it. Okay, so this would be your parents caring for your grandparents for the most part. Sometimes these numbers are different from this, but this is what they did in terms of getting the data and do the analysis. When they did this, so these are people 45 to 64 years of age, so it's pretty close to about a 20-year age bracket. Back in 2010, there were within the family unit, there were potentially 7 caregivers that could support for every high-risk person that was 80 years old and plus, okay? By 2030, which is essentially right now, okay, it's declined to 4 to 1, and by 2050, it's going to decline to 3 to 1, okay? Less people, same amount of work, huge burden. Okay, so this is something that you can project. You can bet on this, and this is obviously as you guys reported in your CT1, we look at those countries, okay, that are further along. Okay, they're fully developed, they're industrialized, they're westernized, whatever you want to call it. Okay, they have a much lower birth rate, all right, or fertility, and so fewer people to provide the support. So they're in the throes of this, but a lot of the developing countries are catching up, and they're looking for answers. Okay, all righty. So that's what this is all about. So again, they're talking about long-term services and supports. Okay, and this is can be all over the place. A lot of it is what's called instrumental support, where you're behind the scenes, making sure that groceries are delivered, behind the scenes, making sure that the bills get paid. Okay, behind the scenes dealing with the nightmare that is the billing and payment of both care services, medical services, things like that. My co-instructor and wife, Julia, who you know very well, has been the last year as an attorney has been going toe to toe with a insurance company. So some people they don't want to be. We're going to talk about it. Be just sucker punch financially, and really to go broke from having to stay in an assisted living facility or needing long-term care at home. So they buy what are called long-term care insurance and policies. All right. And so, her father probably spent over the last 25 years or whatever it was, probably spent about $40,000 in terms of the premium for this long-term care policy. But when it came time for them to step up to bat and pay for services? No way, no way. So it was this battle, and they battled and battled and battled. Sadly, he passed away this week, and in the end, they won. They paid next to nothing in terms of services, and they pocketed all that money. So this is a huge issue, huge issue. Okay, you guys should become elder law attorneys for sure. Alrighty. Um, this is just again what you would project. Okay, the number of caregivers is remaining flat, but the number of people 80 years and older, this is the fastest growing group in our country, fastest growing group in the world. Okay, alrighty. And when we look at people that are going to be tapping into needing long-term care, okay, so I'm getting there, okay, and the attitude is, approaching 70% of Americans believe that, hey, my families are going to take care of this for me. Are you ready for this? Okay, it would be great if we had a better social policy, if our government had a better infrastructure to help in this way, but we don't. You can see other countries do, and we're lagging way behind in that way. All right. All righty. So when we look at caregivers, it takes a toll. Okay. It has an emotional strain. Okay. Physical strain. Okay. Financial strain. Right here. These competing demands of your work and caregiving. All right. If you're spending time driving up to go deal with your grandparents' stuff or your parents' stuff, you're not working. Okay, you're not making money. Okay, and this creates an enormous financial hardship that can be very stressful. In fact, caregiver stress is a major cause of disease and problems. Okay, um, and it's something that has to be dealt with. Okay, we have a caregiver resource center at USC. It's an amazing facility where they have 8 different caseworkers, and they give families, they give caregivers a break so they can get things done. Okay, alrighty. This goes through, again, some of the issues. Okay, and what's happening is, before, it would be, um, for the most part, your caregiving, like I said, would be the instrumental stuff. Okay, there's the social, emotional support. You love your parents and grandparents, and they've lost a lot of loved ones. It is what it is. My mom was kind of the last of her group that was surviving, and so they look to you for support. But then things get tougher. Okay. And so you actually start doing nursing tasks. Okay, and this is the big deal. This is changed over the last 10 years, where you start doing wound care, delivering of medications, even injections, on and on and on. Okay, so you're going to spend a lot of time dealing with being a kind of a med tech. All right, all righty. So again, I'm not going to read through all this, but this is, these are just projections where you're gonna expect to have to deal with. Okay. And again, this is, why this age group was used in this study. And again, because, a large percent of people that are in this age group have a disability, okay, and they need care, okay. Alrighty, so then from this, you're going to be able to, predict exactly what's going on in terms of this transition. How many caregivers are there? So they put it here in text, okay, and we can just kind of look at this in terms of the graphics right here. Alrighty. So we see this transition, okay? So there were a lot of us boomers, okay, obviously, okay? And so here we are turning 45, okay? I was at the younger end of this, okay? And so there were a lot of us that were providing caregiver support to our parents, We were on the low end of things in my family, so I have 2 brothers, my dad served in World War II, and there are plenty of families out there that might have maybe, it was more traditional to have 5, 6 kids, you get married, and so you have all these different ways that your in-laws are going to help in terms of doing caregiving for the older person. But what's happening is people like me are now transitioning into this. I'm 66 going on 67, and here we are at 2023, so I'm starting, to potentially be in that area where I need care. Luckily, I've, done everything I could in terms of maintaining my health, okay? So I'm not quite there yet, okay, which is awesome. Plus, my wife and I work work together as a team. And that's really crucial. People that are married do much better than people who are single in terms of being able to be independent and not needing care. Okay. Um, the risk factors, they call them modifiable risk factors. I've tried to reduce it by having a good diet and exercising and keeping myself intellectually engaged as being your professor. Okay, and I'm going to work for quite a while because I like doing it, right? Alrighty, but ultimately, I'm going to be transitioning into this age group right in here. Okay, so this is me. So out here in the 30s, 2030, 2040, this is where I'm going to be tapping into it. And there's a lot of us, and there's very few of you, or say your parents, much fewer. So we see the ratio. All right, it's going down. It's getting down in here. It's going to be approaching 2 people to balance the care for that one person. Okay, where is this coming from? Again, these are just what you would expect. Okay, in terms, this is stuff you learned about in the first couple of weeks of this class, and we're looking at the projected age for populations. Okay, 45, 64. Okay, and we see that the populations are getting older and older and older. Okay. And this is the projected age of 80, projection of 80 plus population in terms of percentage of the age structure. And you see we're going up and up and up and up and up here, right? So anyways, you just kind of, everything you'd expect. It's kind of interesting to come down here and look into these appendices, okay, in these tables. And again, this is going from, roughly 7 in 2010 to we're approaching 4 people to take care of one person, and it's nationally it'll be 3. And then you look at where areas where there are more older people and less younger people. So you can just kind of scroll down here and look for a number that looks like it's on the low side. Okay, so we see Hawaii is way on the low side. So there's more older people, less younger people there. Okay. Right here, Arizona. Okay, people go to Arizona, retire. All right, so and so the number of young people are not there to support. And then you can then look for bigger numbers. Okay, so let's scrolling down here. We see so Utah has more people. Why is that? Okay, well, part of the culture of the Mormon Church is to have more children compared to other types of communities around the country. Okay. And so you can just kind of scroll around to look for unique differences based on states. All right, guys, very cool stuff. All right. Okay, so from there, we scroll down here, and this is just a reiteration of the same issues, okay? This is how we, this study by ARP defined what the caregiver ratio is all about. Number of older people, number of people that are 80 years and above, and the number of people that were in that 20-year bracket that can do the caregiving for them, all right? And we can see, again, this dramatically shows you the decline, and we see the epics and changes right here, okay? So a lot more responsibility on fewer people's shoulders, what's it showing right there. And then this is, again, the numbers, okay? All right, so how do we stack up, okay, as a country, all right? And so this is something Jill and I added recently. We look at how the United States stacks up to a large number of countries across the world, okay? And this is this organization of economic cooperativity. They're big, 17 countries that participate in this, okay? This is the average situation, okay, in terms of the expenditures, okay? So we're looking at this, you guys are econ majors, as a percentage of the financial well-being of the country. It's called the gross domestic product, okay? All right, so this is in 2017 when this was measured, okay? And we see how much output, so right, so this is going to be, an expenditure by the country for caring for people, okay? And so we can look at the long-term care in terms of health, okay, and long-term care in terms of social support, and how many resources are put out there from the countries. So we look over here, okay, and we look at the Nordic countries, okay. These are socialized medicine countries, sorry. They have a higher tax base, but they have a really amazing infrastructure of support. It's incredible how much better off people are when they get older in these countries, okay. In our country, we see we're at the absolute lowest end here, okay. And you can again compare us across the board to all these different countries, and how much our government is putting out in terms of financial resources to help. Okay, and again, it's divided up dark between health, and we see light is social support. And you see right here, there is nothing in terms of social support, nothing in our country. Okay, so it's really a crime. It's really a crime. And basically, what it is it tells us is we are okay capitalistic country, and we're on our own, okay? Which is all fine and good when you're wealthy, okay? Who loses out in our country? The lower socioeconomic groups, okay? So they have very little to rely upon in terms of health and social support when they get older, all right? All right, so this is another example right here. So we're talking, dealing with your parents or your grandparents' health and social well-being. How about as a country, how do we stack up in terms of your immediate future? And let's say you're working and you decide to have a child. Um, is there any expenditure in our country in terms of childcare and support? And you can see again these countries over here, these other countries. We look at the annual public spending per child in early child care. Okay, and we see that all kind. Look at Norway and look at how much money these other countries spend, and look at us. Okay, $500 compared to the 30,000 per child spent up in these countries. Okay, so how do we stack up globally in terms of government support for caregiving up here for older Americans, or for we compare us to older people in other countries? We see it, we're at the absolute low end for long-term care health and long-term care social support. How do we stack up in terms of caring for your children? All right, is there an infrastructure that will help in terms of childcare so you can get back to working? No, no, it's up to you. All right, so it's either the family unit or you're gonna have to spend a lot of money. Okay, so this is really, it's kind of eye-opening. But it is the way the world works. Okay, in terms of us being this capitalist society. Okay, so it's the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Okay, so we look at here how things stack up. Okay, so again, most older Americans, okay, the perception, like I said, it was over 70%. Figured, my family's going to take care of me. Okay, most older Americans receive care, okay, because they need it, okay, all the things we talked about, okay. This be managing your finances, going grocery shopping, cooking, and it could be healthcare, okay, in their own homes, okay. This is the majority, okay. Sometimes there is more of a neighborhood collective, so a friend or family member's home is where it's going to be delivered. And very few people had the finances to do nursing homes or senior community centers, okay? We're going to talk about the limits in terms of nursing homes, okay? On the right-hand side, okay, most caregivers provide care outside their own homes, okay? All right? So when we're looking over here, this is again, how it all stacks up, okay? So you're doing care at somebody else's home. Some caregivers are doing it at this level, okay? And this is more of a professional. And we see right here, an aged loved one's home. So you're going to their house, and there's a pretty significant amount of care that is being done in your home. So that means if we stacked all these out, the majority of the time, that means this person's going to be living with you or you're going to be living with them, okay? And what does that mean, okay? Have you wrapped your head around this family collective, okay? All right, so we look at, we always hear about nursing homes, okay, or assisted living facilities, how does this, how do you prepare for this financially, okay? So we look at the average monthly cost, okay, for somebody to live in a nursing home. This is $8,000 a month, okay? And it's very limited coverage by Medicare. We'll talk about that in a second, okay? If you're living in an assisted living facility, this is 100% out of pocket, all right? So $4,000 a month, we're going to see that, the median retirement income, like a 401k or an individual retirement account for people in our country that are roughly 45 to about 65 years of age is somewhere around $17,000. You're going to burn through that in just 3 or 4 months if you're the median or the kind of middle of the road American, right? So people are not prepared for this, all right? What if you're hiring part-time care? Just have somebody come by a couple of hours a day. This is $2,000 a month, okay? I have a friend that was in a memory care unit. He put his dad in there. He had Alzheimer's. He didn't know what to do, but it was costing him, $12,000 a month. All right, and he was stuck. He didn't know what to do. So let's look at this skilled nursing facility and see how it is paid out. All right, Medicare. We all think, oh, we can just rely on Medicare, right? So the way Medicare works, okay, is you have to first complete 3 days of hospital care. Okay, you're inpatient, you're staying in the hospital for some related medical condition. Okay, then you go straight into a skilled nursing facility, okay, a nursing home, and for the first 20 days, Medicare pays for everything. Okay, all right. For the remaining 21 days through 100 days, okay, you have $185 coinsurance. After 100 days, which creeps out on you really quickly if you have some significant problems, all costs are completely out of pocket. All right, so people are shipped home, and then you do the caregiving, and you're not ready for this. Okay. Alrighty. So Medicare does pay for certain home health services. Okay. But Medicare doesn't pay for these home health services. Okay, so you don't have 24-hour a day care at home. Meals delivered at your home, not paid by Medicare. Homemaker service, cleaning, shopping, laundry. Okay, bathing, dressing, using the bathroom. These are all something that you have to cover. So this is a lot to think about, guys. Okay, alrighty. So that throws you right into this, and we want you to think about everything we've talked about. Okay. We're going to talk about cultural differences, which is really a great place to introduce you to the differences and who we are as a country. But I do want you to reflect back on, how we stack up, as a country. Could we be doing better? Can we change this? Because it's, as you know, the demands are only getting greater as our society gets older and older and older. So that's what this prompt is, okay? Want you to read up here on some of the diversity issues. One of the leaders in looking at caregiving, he compares what happens in South America, for example, to U.S. cultures. Okay, where people have more of this familial responsibility. They call it filial piety, where you do the right thing and you do the right thing by your family. Okay, at all costs. Okay, there's a lot of multi-generational homes. And so as a result, people basically align themselves with, these are my responsibilities for my family member who needs care, and I'm not going to achieve as much in my career. Okay, and he talks about how it's very, very cultural. And in this article right here, if you can go into it either through the PDF file, okay, which we made right there, okay, or you can go directly into the link, which is right here. All right. And we see this big cultural difference, okay? And people change as they have multiple generations here in our country. We see that if you are from an Asian American culture, you're more likely to have families doing the service versus professional support services compared to white caregivers, okay? If you see socioeconomic status makes a huge, huge impact, okay? We see African American caregivers, okay, are having to deal with a lot more, and so they have a lot more burden and depression than, say, white caregivers, okay? Same goes for Hispanics right here, and it has to do with socioeconomic, all right? So, and then we look at differences in terms of caregivers of different gender identities, okay? And some of the unique problems they have. This is something that you're going to have to wrap your head around. And maybe you'll create maybe an assisted living facility someday or housing for people over the age of 65, and you'll be wrapping your head around these unique cultural differences. All right, so that's what this is all about right here. We rely on social workers, okay, as you're making this transition, okay, like we've talked about, from maybe assisted living facility to not said from nursing home facilities to an assisted living facility to home. You're going to need somebody to navigate the whole process, and that's what social workers are all about. And licensed social workers do a lot of what is called mental health services for their clients. So this is, you know, a typical social worker, okay? And this is an amazing TED Talk that talks about the you know the professional belief of social workers that they're just making people's lives better, and that's what it's all about, okay? And so you become this go-to person that helps somebody, okay? You know the system, right? You don't make a lot of money doing this, okay? However, okay, you do the right thing. You form a large group, and you know Dotterville Hall at USC, all right? So the person who gave a lot of the funds for that building was a social worker and had a huge social worker program, okay? All right, so you assess the client's needs, and then through your connections, you refer them to all the best people, whether it's you know, bathing, whether it's help in terms of groceries, gardening, okay, you know, different type of medical services. You know exactly who to send these people to because you're fully networked, okay. Um, and again, you want to help people. This is your typical social worker, and you're trained and licensed. All right. We have a great social work program. These are all the different types of mental health services that social workers do. Again, so provide a lot of mental health support as a social worker. Family service agencies, okay, prisons, correctional institutes, child protection agencies, schools have social workers. I'm sure you guys remember that when you guys were in K through 12. Okay, hospitals have social workers that are crucial for once you're done with that acute hospital care, you have to transition out to a skilled nursing facility. So you can work in a hospital. You can have your own private practice, okay? Like Dotterville Hall, okay? And you can work in community centers. These are all these amazing, amazing aspects of health. So we've given you this full scope of caregiving. Hopefully you guys have an appreciation for it. Enjoy your midterm exam. You guys are going to love it, and you're going to see how much you've learned in this semester. Peace, and we'll see you at week 9.